I'm an excavator, excavator. Hey, dirt, see you later. I'm an excavator.
Now we're on to excavation.
It's 1970 something backhoe has already cleared the property, has tipped over, has been tipped back upright. Day one, we're doing the excavation, hoping to with this. Day one actually made pretty good progress. So there was plans to either use this machine or rent another machine just to move the dirt after digging the hole, but we ended up going even more extreme than that, because on day two the old backhoe started to have a little bit too much work for it.
That was a big hole.
So
yeah.
Got about a quarter of the way done the first day. It actually works pretty good with the extend-a-hoe and being able to reach pretty far out from where you're sitting. Yeah, it's only an 18-inch bucket too, so it's a lot of scoops at a fairly slow rate to be able to do any of that.
Oh, it looks so nice and warm there.
Yeah, this is like early September, so it was
really
t-shirt
really
weather.
nice. Yes.
Working on this, removing the stump from this tree, took the majority of the day, as most of the other ones on the property that I removed did. Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes I don't learn that things take too much time. But yeah, it's like this is taking forever, and it kind of was. And there was a big old boulder under it
big
too.
rock.
But it got to the point where there's actually like a leak developing in one of the valve manifolds, and it's something that isn't really repairable, but it only seems to get aggravated when the machine is like overheated and overworked. So
Which we did a lot of.
right. So this is about the point where it was like, this is probably not going to happen with this machine, because if I break it now, then I got to buy or rent something for the rest of the entire project. And so we wanted to like take it easy on this a little bit. Okay, what are we going to do for the rest of the excavation so that the old case 580 doesn't blow up?
Was that I was operating?
Yeah, that was Sarah
operating the backhoe.
to like help me locate where this leak was coming from.
This is
So-
when Mike says, "I have a surprise for you. I'm gonna have to rent an excavator and a skid steer, and I get to run the skid steer," which was terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
I'm gonna rent a skid steer, and you got to drive it.
You're gonna move dirt from here to there.
Because I can't drive both at the same time.
Yep.
So, yeah. But for the rest of the day, I fought with a stump and dug more as much as I could. Fought with a stump and dug some more and fought with a stump. Because it doesn't have a root ripper tooth, like a big old tooth on it to rip through the stuff. So the bucket's trying to rip through the roots, and that's like the only way to really get these things out, is to cut through, rip through all the roots, or dig all the way around it and under it as much as you can. And kind of the same problem. So, smoke, smoke, smoke. It does that. It
Leak, leak, leak.
leak. Yep. There's a good amount of, not an excessive amount of fluid for anybody.
Oh, environmentally, yes.
Yeah, environmentally
We're all good.
conscious. It's just a little bit here and there. Oh, look, it finally
movement.
moved. You're a smooth operator.
I'm a smooth operator.
So as fast as I could possibly move this excavator, like it's sped up in time-lapse mode. It's going faster than, I'm actually digging, but it was these are 10-second intervals, I think. As fast as I could move that thing.
Yeah.
Dig as much as I could, and it still took several days
Yeah.
to do this. Now, that's because it's a fairly small 50-horse mini. but it's what I could transport, and that was part of renting the machinery that I could move and then return when I'm done with it, instead of having to pay for delivery and pickup and all that too.
Yeah, and at this point we had Ralph helping to move some dirt with the backhoe, and I was on the skid steer and you were in the excavator.
Yeah, so we, at some point, we had 3 machines going for a little bit. We did all that.
This is what, day
What?
3?
Yeah, day 3, checking the grade a little bit. I did pretty good with that. It wasn't perfect, but it's pretty good considering amateur. I mean, I've run machines before, excavators, etc., but nothing this big or nothing this, not really crucial, but having to dig in a whole foundation and keep it relatively flat at the bottom.
Yeah,
And pretty much eyeballing it.
right, because you're losing your paint lines as soon as you start
Right.
digging. So
Yeah, you're like you're
like,
kind of,
here's good.
yeah, you kind of dig the edge a little bit so that you have a boundary. And that first day, I kind of got my depth set with the laser, and you're mostly eyeballing it from there, and every once in a while checking your grade with the laser again. But
That
you
is
can't
a
be
lot
doing
of
that
dirt.
every minute. So you have to, especially when you're the one running back and forth to check. Here and there, we had help doing that, but a lot of it was climb out, go down in the hole, check the heights, climb back out, keep digging. Now it's getting dark on day 3.
I moved a lot of dirt that day.
Yeah.
Look at that nice
If you
small
look,
pile.
the whole side that was 6 feet high or 8 feet high is all moved to the other side. Why is it moved to the other side?
We didn't know where to put it.
Yeah, there's only so many places to put everything.
Right, and my piling strategy was not great because Mike, he's like, don't be afraid to get up in there and really
gotta
dump
drive
it
it
on
up on the
top.
hill,
And
and then-
as soon as the skid steer started to move, I was like, nope, I'm good right here. Dump it.
Yeah, keep it flat. Anyway, she did good. Day 1, never done that before.
And
Moved
it's
all
not
the
a
dirt.
it's not a Brooks job until you work at night with all the lights.
If you happen to have epilepsy, I'm sorry. There's a little bit of this that you might not respond well to. So please don't call me up or comment or whatever about that. So yeah, took us 5 days. This is the 4th day. Tried something different. I don't know if it was any faster or not. I basically pulled off a foot or 2 at a time and just kept pulling it back, and then was able to kind of swing it out of the hole at the end some. It probably ended up being the same time, but it seemed faster. Again, it's a fairly small machine for this size of a project. So just for reference, the footprint of the excavation is 2+ feet wider in each direction of the house, right? So we're going 32 by 64, and the deepest part is 6 feet deep, and the shallowest part is 4 feet deep because of the slope of the ground. Naturally, the bottom's relatively level. Well, I think it came out to somewhere around 400 yards of dirt. May not seem like much to some, but that's
Yes.
basically 20 truckloads or so, 20 or 25, dump truckloads, tri-axle dump truckloads. Yeah, so then at some point I had to go down the bottom and scrape everything, clean it up, and get the grades as close as I could. And driving the machine on a hill is a little bit, for those who haven't done it.
Sketchy.
It's a little sketchy, but you pretty much can, as long as it's relatively dry, which this was very.
We really had great weather during this. We had no rain whatsoever.
Get yourself out. You can get yourself out almost anywhere with an excavator if you're not in a sinkhole.
Stupid stick time.
So then I had to go down in the excavation to dig out the frost wall section. That's deeper. That's on the one side of the house for where the basement door will be. So instead of doing that as I went, either way, at least I didn't have to go down there with the backhoe and do it. So that would have been interesting. Anyway, dug that out, trenched it out, stepped the footing part of it up, so you have like a couple of different levels, and then tamping some of it around where the footings will be, and finishing out the last little bit, which the last little bit's still a lot.
Yeah. That is a lot of dirt. Holy moly.
Yeah, and we piled it all in the front yard.
Yeah.
All of it. For the sake of having access for the concrete trucks when we did get to the footings and foundation part.
That was a really good idea, actually, when you made that little
We made like a road.
an access road.
Right, we
basically.
we piled everything up and then we flattened the top on part of it, because all of this is, what I've been told, is glacial till type soil. So it's pretty sandy and rock, like small rocks. So it packs fairly well when it's dry like this. And that way the cement trucks could drive right up alongside both sides of the house. In hindsight, could I have done that on both sides? Maybe, but the back is going to have a lot less fill, or a lot more. It's got to be dug out at some point. So, oh, and at some point, the rented skid steer developed a leak, so then it wasn't operable, because it was the bucket tilt, I think, something in there. One of the hoses like came loose or broke. So we ended up, we have it all not using that, I think, on the last day that we had it.
More raking.
Which is unfortunate and annoying, but back to the old backhoe for some of it because it had more reach.
Yeah, this was like, there's just a little bit more left, right? And then we would fill that bucket, and there would be
Still
like,
be
nope,
more.
we could just fill another bucket, another one, another one.
Yeah. Yeah, the last little bits were like we shoveled into the bucket because there's really no neat way, especially with that machine, because it wobbles like freaking spaghetti noodle.
This was a rough day. We got done digging, and it's like now we have to measure, and
Yes, everything has to be measured.
yeah, it's just the amount of like, oh, that's me having a breakdown.
Yeah.
It's just the amount of like steps. Like, it seems so easy to be like, yeah, dig a hole and pour it with, concrete, but there's so much to it that it just was like, we're never gonna finish.
Yeah, right. We spent all that time looking through a scope and measuring and laying out the property points and the house points in order to dig the hole in the right place, and then you check your depths, and then you still have to go off of those points and measure once the hole is dug to actually put the footings in the right place, to actually put the foundation in the right place, so that the house comes out where you planned to put it. Otherwise,
Yes.
you dig the hole, you could still be off by 3 feet because you could just go in the wrong side of the hole and something's wrong.